Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Clink, to
Clink.
Restitching the Tapestry. We're on episode 26. Um, Again, wow, episode 26. We are moving right along. So obviously, there's been a lot happening in the United States world over the past few days. So we really felt that it was sensible to do an entire episode focused on the inauguration and other events surrounding that. So we will be discussing that at length tonight. I have the hiccups. I apologize. So, um, first and foremost, I'm going to make sure that I read our show's mission statement, and then we will just do some introductions, letting everyone know how we've been doing the past few days. So, many witness different atrocities, large or small, that fray the social fabric around us, and much of the time, many may feel powerless and know not how to address such things. This fray has gotten worse with the rise of social media because we are able to share in a collective trauma as it goes viral in real time because people are able to witness it unfold on a mass scale and share in collective grief and outrage. So that begs the question of what can we do to mend those communities that have been drastically affected by those tragedies. And our goal is to create solutions and discuss these topics by restitching the tapestry of sorts through conversation, creativity, action, and of course we accomplish that through educating ourselves, educating everyone else, and kind of like having this symbiotic relationship when it comes to educating. So yeah. um Ari, how are you doing? How was your week?
I it's been fairly decent. How has your week been going, Donny?
My week has been not too bad. I've been feeling considerable relief, as I know many have been feeling, because everybody prior to inauguration day, everybody was kind of like holding their breath, anticipating something really, another unsettling thing to happen. But it seemed to go very well that day, and it was just a really empowering thing. And I've been still kind of feeling that, I don't know, that enthusiasm since that day. Um, so Ari, do you want to walk us through your day watching the inauguration? What was it like for you? What were you thinking? What were your reactions?
So I felt a little bit of I went over to my mom's house to watch it because I don't have cable, so we watched it over at my mom's house, my sister and I. Or my sister was sleeping during the inauguration. But I went over to my mom's house to watch it. And there was a little bit of just kind of like a fear that something was going to happen. I felt kind of like on edge a little bit towards the beginning of it. Um, that's just like that air of like, is something going to happen? Is everything going to be okay? Like, even though there's all these National Guards and stuff, and like everything is like, secure and everything, it's just like there's still like as people are coming in, they're showing the door being like busted in, and like everybody's coming in and everybody seems like very calm. I'm still like, you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
because it's happening live and you're just
Well,
like,
and like I had been watching different news sources leading up to the inauguration day, like that the entire week. And like, of course, security was increased significantly. And like they were reporting on like threats that were being made online and so on and so forth. And that like really gained like a lot of attention for a while. But I mean, I thankfully, with the security the way it was, like I think everything just was kept safe, which is phenomenal, like especially considering the heinousness of recent events. So let's see. Arby's here and Leo is here. You're phasing out the Igni pseudonym. Sounds good to me. Leo. And thank you, RP. I appreciate it. My Matchbox 20 shirt is getting a little old, but you know, I'm all about band tees. I'm basically still a high schooler. What can I say? Um, for me, on Inauguration Day, I spent much of the day just chilling in my pajamas, watching it on TV. My partner and I were watching it, and we were experiencing a lot of apprehension too, a lot of nervousness because you were just like, what's going to happen, you know? Um, but much to our surprise, like everything seemed to go well. We had like a glass of wine at noon to celebrate. Like it was, as soon as Gaga made her appearance, I was like, wine, like Gaga, cheers to you. I'll talk about that at length.
It was a really emotional day.
It was very like there were several moments and instances where I cried a little bit. I got like super emotional, and I think it was a very surreal feeling seeing something this uplifting and optimistic happening after the last 4 to 5 years of not being sure of what the next piece of drama would be, not being sure of what the next controversy, you know, would be. And like I think we all in a way kind of numbed ourselves to everything because we just felt that it was just going to be one thing after another. And to see things being conducted in a way that was patriotic and respectful and poised, it was just refreshing.
And just to have it go smoothly and just not have it be like some kind of drama coaster and just like some kind of reality TV show. It was refreshing. It was just like, just to have it be, it was almost like, I can't even describe how it felt like. It just felt like it was just surreal, like to have it just be like back to normal again.
Yeah, it was very freeing. And I think it's something that we really needed to see, especially with what's been happening over the past year with all those controversies and the pandemic on top of it. Because if you watch all the footage, like everyone was wearing masks, everyone was socially distanced, everyone was like making sure that they were following procedures and protocols. Like between each speaker, there was somebody like sanitizing the podium and everything. Like it was a drastic turnaround from what we've seen over the past, you know, year. So it was just it gave me optimism about the future in the sense that it helped me feel like everything is going to be okay. And I really think that that's what's needed now, you know.
It just made me realize that like this is the beginning of how it's going to be from now on. And like, just like the realization that this is how it's going to be from now on, just like, it's like a sigh of relief, but also like very like, wow,
Right.
this is how it's going to be from now on.
Yeah.
Like, just, it's so not even just a relief, but just like a weight has been lifted off my chest.
Oh yeah. That like I can definitely relate with that. Like it like I feel like it's the lifting of of anxiety. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm still sort of anxious about some things, but knowing that there is leadership that actually cares, I think, not only about what's happening with the pandemic, but about the general and genuine well-being of people, like that's significant. That's very significant. And and going through and watching each step of the inauguration just continue to build on that and build on that, you know. Like I know for me, like even just watching former President Obama and Michelle Obama walked down the stair. Like, I was just like, ah, they're beautiful. Ah. You know, like it was so dramatic. But I like, you just realize like what you miss, and you miss that sense of normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even felt
You
that way
miss the
when,
boring. You miss the boring. The just
yeah,
like
like
I
I
mean
even,
the most exciting thing about Obama was this camel suit.
yeah, like I even reacted that way when I saw former President Bush and Laura Bush walk down, and former President Clinton and Hillary Clinton walk. Like, it was just like these human beings, while they disagree on things, and while I don't agree with everything that they've said or done or any of their some of their legislation, like, I know that they are practical, respectful people who do genuinely care about the well-being of our country.
I mean, at least George W. Bush was a politician and like he did things in a certain way. And like um, but he did things that were controversial too. Like I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure.
he was I mean George W. Bush was controversial, but like not like Trump was controversial. Like he didn't try to gut our government.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
And he at least had a staff. Like he wasn't turning over staff every like 3 weeks.
Yep. Like, yeah, and that, I think it circulates back to like the past 4 years just seemed like 4 seasons of some sort of reality TV show.
And that's what I was thinking towards the end is like we were coming up on the season finale of a reality TV show as we're having people storming the Capitol is like we're coming to some season or series finale is like it's coming to some apex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. So, so the like obviously go like because I mean, obviously we have some notes, like we always have notes, but I know we really wanted to touch on the significance and the symbolism of them holding this symbol and procedure of our democracy at a location that was ravaged a week and a half prior by rioters.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were aspects of the Capitol that weren't fully repaired and everything like that, but the fact that they were able to, I don't know, like they were able to safely conduct this and reaffirm that democracy is still here and still present and still preserved, like that was so unbelievably significant in my opinion.
Yeah, they showed they actually I saw a picture of the juxtaposition of the rioters coming through the doors and then Joe Biden going out those same doors
Mm-hmm.
to go take the oath of office. And that you can see like the cracks in the glass and like they hadn't repaired the cracks in the glass yet because they just hadn't been completely corrected yet. Uh,
Yeah.
it was just and then Eugene, what's his name? Eugene uh,
Eugene Goodman.
Goodman. He there.
Yeah, Eugene Goodman, he was that officer that led many of the rioters away, giving congressmen and women and Vice President Pence an opportunity to flee, if memory serves me correctly. So, like, what he did was
Yeah.
that, that he, in many ways, was honored at this because of his heroism. And I think that was really powerful, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so he was there at the Capitol, and he was being honored. I think he's going to get the Congressional Medal of Honor as well.
Yeah, I think that that's the
He
highest civilian honor, if memory serves me correctly.
it is, yeah, and he was just invited to the inauguration. So, I thought that was powerful that he was brought back to the Capitol to see the inauguration.
Agreed,
Mm-hmm.
100%. So, and then of course, I know one thing that a lot of people were thrilled about in watching the inauguration was looking at people's outfits. But it was just everyone was so
Colorful.
colorful. Everyone was so beautiful as they just came in with their heads held high, determined, poised. Like, I mean, whether it be.
Did you notice a lot of purple? I noticed a lot of purple.
I did. I'm trying to remember, and I could be wrong, but if memory serves, like purple is commonly worn to the inauguration to symbolize um, blue and red coming together.
Yeah, red mixture of red and blue.
Yeah, so like
So unity.
the unity. Yeah, so I think I know like Michelle Obama wore purple.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vice
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, Kamala Harris wore purple. Like I know, like for me, like in the sunlight, I was like, is it blue? Is it purple? I couldn't tell. But later on, when you see her, like you can tell that it's for sure a purple.
Hillary Clinton wore purple.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So like that again, like the symbolism was extremely significant. Um, oh my God. Lady Gaga singing the national anthem. Okay, I've been waiting to get this because all of you know that I am probably Lady Gaga's biggest fan gay. But obviously, it was a pretty significant moment, her being
Wasn't she
there.
supposed to be dressed like a veteran's puppy?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I heard that she was the reason why she had such a big dress like that is that she was dressed like a veteran's puppy.
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything about that. I mean, her outfit was gorgeous though.
Yeah,
And
that's why she had such like a skinny black
mhm.
dress and then it belled out like that is that she was dressed like a veteran's puppy.
And she also had like that dove with the olive branch on her
And she
symbolizing.
had the poppies in the back of her hair too.
Mhm. So yeah, all of that very much symbolic. And I mean, obviously her being there was significant because she was pretty instrumental in the win of Pennsylvania because she went and helped uh, President Biden actually um, you know, drum up support there. I can't think of the specific word. Why am I not thinking of the word? I can't think of the word. Um, but like the fact that she went from being this bullied teenager who wanted to be a star to one of the world's most famous musicians, activists, and actresses performing the national anthem at an inauguration, like that's a very significant full circle moment, at least from my perspective. So that I thought that was extremely meaningful. And
Mm-hmm.
if you you can tell how much they all care about each other because after she sang the national anthem, she she congratulated Joe, and then she went and complimented uh former President Biden and Michelle. It was very clear to see what was going on. So I thought that was really significant.
Mm-hmm. I just saw that she had such trouble with her dress at first. When she first came down, she was like holding her dress up and she was like, I knew she wanted to like shake people's hands, but she couldn't because she was holding her dress up. And I was like, oh, Lady Gaga, I know you're such a fashion fiend, but
Right. I'm glad that she had help getting down because I was just like, I can't imagine her walking down by herself.
because that skirt was so big and I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's so beautiful, but I was like, I could not walk in that thing if I were her.
Oh God, yeah. She posted this picture on Instagram of like a pan, like a shot, like that picture of the Capitol building that we see from the ground upward, like during the riot. You could like see the full front of the building. She posted another one of her and President Biden and Vice President Harris, like, and it was like the background of like a sunny sky. Like it was really like this beautiful picture that contrasts with that original. And I was just like that symbol right there is extremely enduring. So
you were like, yes.
I was like, yes, Gaga.
I love it.
Oh, it was delightful. That made my day. I mean, everything made my day, but that particularly made my day. So what's next on our list?
Amanda Gorman reading The Hill That We Climb.
Oh my gosh. The inaugural poet laureate.
I actually have a copy of the poem, The Hill We Climb, if you want me to read it.
I would love that. I'm going to shut off my heater really quick while you start that.
When day comes, we ask ourselves where we can find light in this never-ending shade. The loss we carry, a sea when we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. The norms and notions of just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we know it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of the country, in a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, can only find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, and that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to form a union that with purpose. And we compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. So we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our futures first, we must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms, so we must reach our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieve, we grew, and even as we hurt, we hoped, and even as we tried, we tried. And we forever will be tied together victorious, not because we never knew defeat, but because we never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under the own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. And if we live our own time, then victory won't lie in blade, but in the bridges we've made. And this is the promise to glade the hill we climb if we only dare. It's because being American is more than pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation if we, rather than share it, would destroy our country if we meant delaying democracy. This effort nearly succeeded, but while democracy can periodically delayed, it can never permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have eyes to the future, history has its eyes on us. This is our era of redemption. We fear at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be at heirs of such terrifying hour, but within it we found our power to its author a new chapter to offer hope and our laughter to ourselves. So once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? We now assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back, but once what was will move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not turn around or be interrupted by intimidation, because we know that inaction or inertia will be inheritance of our next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain, if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we are left. With every breath from our bronze-bounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous run. We will raise from golden hills of the rest. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, from their forefathers first. realize revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, recounsel, and recover in every nook of our nation, in every corner of our called country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we will step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. A new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if we are brave enough to see it, if we are brave enough to be it.
Oh my God.
She's so powerful. She's so powerful.
That poem, well, first of all, your reading of it was wonderful. But that
She's
poem,
much better than I am.
that poem really reminded me of Dr. Martin Luther King's I have a dream speech in several different ways, but especially toward the end with those references to the different regions of our country rising, finding solidarity. Like that was extremely, like that was an echo to that to me. And I think that's very symbolic to show that our country is in many ways in a similar situation, a similar point of transition that it was back then, a choice to make. And yeah, like I think that's just, it's a beautiful piece. My favorite line is, let me go and find it. Oh, let's see.
I love the last stanza where she talks about each region.
Yes. Same here. I love that stanza. Oh, it's because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we stepped into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. This effort very nearly succeeded, but while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's pretty good too.
Yeah, the rhyming schemes in it, like that first part about inheritance. Our nation is more than just that patriotic pride that we have passed down. We are inheriting something that we need to care for, something that we need to actively stay vigilant with, it's like maintaining democracy requires work. It's not just something that you snap a finger and there it is,
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that that's what this poem was emphasizing on, like the fact that if we want this to keep working and to not get lost in itself, it's going to require all hands on deck. It's going to require diversity and acceptance of our diverse, melting pot that our nation is. So I know when I was hoping, I'm trying to remember, did former President Trump have an inaugural poet read?
I don't think so, but I don't remember.
Trump have and I'm looking it up. Tradition. I don't see anything. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do have this vague memory of them not doing that. That was like a tradition that was kind of overlooked.
Broken.
Like,
Yeah.
I know as poets, for us notably, I know that it was really important to see her perform this piece and be included in this tradition, because poetry is often a honestly forgotten and misunderstood art form, and to have a poem commemorate something as huge as an inauguration is very important, because poetry has since its beginning been very much focused on social commentary.
I thought
And
that it was common to have a poet laureate commemorate the inauguration.
It is. Most inaugurations do have poet laureates perform, but unfortunately, there are a lot of other like large events that don't include anything like that. Sadly, you would think there would be, but
I think that it should be a regular thing. I think that poetry should commemorate most events. In
right?
my humble opinion, I think that poetry should be part of our culture regularly. Just saying.
Amen. Well, and like, see, the thing is, if you look throughout history, poetry was very instrumental in times of political upheaval because it served as a way to speak out against. Um, oh my gosh, Taylor.
I'm sorry your cat died.
Taylor, I love you. I'm so sorry. Wow. Pets are like family. We love you. If you can tune
Why?
back in later, feel free. Um, so, um, but like poetry has always acted as that type of social justice voice speaking out against atrocities. And sometimes to the, you know, a lot of poets used to be in danger because of it, you know. So the fact that there is still this tradition of a poet writing something that commemorates an event like this and a time leading up to it, like I think that's, I mean, that to me is extremely powerful.
I just liked that the poet laureate Amanda Gorman was young. One, she wore a bright yellow jacket, symbolizing kind of like a new, fresh start, and that she talked about coming together as America, and were that we were doing this as all as like a united America, and that we were coming together, and that we were coming together as a bright, hopeful future. And so like her message was bright, her outlook was fresh, and she was this young laureate like standing up there. She basically stole the day, like
Oh yeah, for
hands
sure.
down. I was just like taken aback by her and just like, wow,
In
she's
fact, like
amazing.
if memory serves me correctly, I believe that she is the youngest poet laureate.
She is the youngest poet laureate.
So that in of itself is extremely significant too. So like I just it was phenomenal. I like that was a huge highlight of the inauguration for me. 100%. And I totally pre-ordered her book on Amazon, which is going to be coming out. Let me see. When is it coming out? Oh my gosh, my Amazon is being stupid.
What's her book called?
The book is called The Hill We Climb. So the obviously the poem she performed is going to be the title poem of it, but it comes out on September 21st, 2021. I can post a link in the chat box for everyone if you're interested. But I'm definitely going to read her collection of poems when it comes out. So,
Heck yeah.
um, because like obviously, like I really think that I mean her being present at this event really cemented her career 100%. So like I would very much like to follow her progress and see what else happens. So, all right, what's on our next piece of reflection that we want to think about for the inauguration?
Jennifer Lopez singing "This Land Is Your Land" and addressing the nation in Spanish.
That was significant too.
I It was kind of controversial because Native Americans were like, well, this land is your land. Well, it's kind of stolen land, but like also, but like, I understand, we're trying to be unified here, and talk
Right.
about this land is their land. But
That song
I
has
think
had a
it was,
history of controversy.
it is, yeah. But I think that for her, I think that the song in the spirit of it is good, and I think that we're trying to. I think it had good intentions, and I think that that was what we were going for, and I think that that was probably what was best. I think that Jennifer Lopez being Spanish was interesting, and I think that it was uh, something that was good necessarily. I
Well, like she's speaking to an entire large demographic of our country,
Yeah.
a demographic that was often criticized by the former administration, often overlooked by the former administration. So, like one
Also,
of
a demographic that voted for him in Florida,
mhm.
because they uh, looked up to him, like in Florida, because I don't know, there was a demographic.
I don't know if it was because he's from Florida or lives in Florida or what, but
Yeah, it was really weird. Like Puerto Ricans really looked up to him, but and I think it was because he lived in Florida.
mhm.
Also because I don't know. Yeah, it was weird, but he ranked high among Latinos in Florida.
Yeah. So Garth Brooks also performed.
Very controversial because he was like, I am Republican. I don't actually believe in anything they do, but I'm going to perform anyway because it's just a job. And he
Right.
very pointedly did not shake the hand of Kamala Harris. He like shook uh, Pence's hand first and like shook everybody else's hand before shaking Kamala's hand.
Yeah, I noticed that too. See, like, I wasn't sure if it was just, like, him doing it for the exposure and convenience, because
It's
I
just
know, like,
him showing his fans that
there were
he's a
there
jerk.
were some people, like, I know I was I watching I can't remember if I read it in the New York Times or if I was watching CNN, but they were commenting about how him being a Republican showing solidarity was something significant, but I don't remember him directly saying that himself, so, like, that
He basically said that he was a Republican and that it was only a job and that he was doing it because he didn't want to he only was doing it to make money and that he wasn't doing it because he was showing support to the Biden administration.
hmm, interesting. I wonder if maybe he said that too because he was getting a lot of backlash from fans. I don't know.
He
Like,
was, yeah.
see, that's oh my gosh, that's comes back to that like cancel culture thing.
Yeah.
See, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people who believe in these conspiracy theories and still advocate for the last 4 years, like there's still a lot of those people. Like it's a huge segment, you know. And that's, I think, what still kind of unsettles me that there's still such a large swath of people who don't listen to scientists, doctors, who believe any bit of rhetorical manipulation that's thrown at them.
Also, he wore jeans to the inauguration.
I saw that too.
Like, who wears jeans to inauguration? Like,
It's more of a regal type of, scenario. Like I was just like, okay. But
I
like,
was like, I put on my Sunday best.
oh my goodness. So another really interesting aspect was that President Joe Biden was sworn in with his family's Bible, which is over 100 years old. So it kind of brings back the significance of like family and tradition. And if memory serves me
Did
correctly, I
you see
believe
it? It was huge. That was a
it
huge
was
family Bible.
it was gigantic. I believe it's isn't President Biden Catholic?
I think he is,
I
yeah.
think he's Catholic, yeah. So like that, like I mean, that was really significant. And I believe that is he the first, I think he's the first president who identifies as Catholic.
I grew up Catholic and we had a big Catholic Bible in my
Mhm.
household that had our family tree, and it was huge Bible like that. It wasn't as old as that, but
But it
I had,
symbolized your family.
yeah, I had a family Bible like that growing up.
We had like when I was a kid, my family was Catholic as well, and we had a large Bible too. I can't remember if we had a family tree on it or not, but I do remember that it was absolutely gigantic. It was the biggest Bible I had ever seen. So,
Was it illustrated too? My family had
mhm.
it was had the big illuminated text and like,
Yep, ours was illustrated too. I think that's common with Catholic Bibles, though, if memory serves me correctly.
yeah.
Um,
Gutenberg would be rolling in his grave at how look at all these huge Bibles.
right. So, how did you like? What was your reaction to the remainder of the day's events, the rest of the inauguration events and stuff like that?
Um, so I I thought that the rest of the events, so I watched the Tom Hanks after virtual ball that they did instead of the ball, like the virtual thing that they did, um,
Hmm.
celebrating America, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was interesting. I feel like it was a lot more work for Joe Biden than just going to an inauguration ball, but it was a lot more socially distanced.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I I liked Bon Jovi. I liked some of the bands playing. The bands were pretty cool.
Bon Jovi still got it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, uh, it was nice to listen to Bon Jovi.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean,
Right.
I'm in my 30s. I don't know, like it's I can't say like woohoo Bon Jovi. I was just like, yeah, Bon Jovi. It was nice. So it was cool.
Yeah.
Like it was something that was meant for like my parents' generation, definitely. Like it definitely wasn't meant for like me, but like I appreciated it for what it was. It was nice
Right.
seeing like, but like, and like they read pieces of other inauguration speeches from other presidents, and I thought that was interesting.
Oh,
But
one of my favorite parts was there was this segment where former presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama got together and they were just talking about the current state of things, their experiences. They were talking about their impressions of President Biden. Like having those three come together and have that conversation was extremely interesting. Um, and very insightful, I think. But also, like, there was like I know like it was a really busy night for the Bidens. Like like President Biden himself, he gave like what, two speeches or something. I know like Dr. Jill Biden, his like first lady, she spoke. There was a press conference later on where they like had like this in-depth conversation about the pandemic and talked about like all the different like executive orders that he signed that day. Like he literally went to work right after being inaugurated.
John Legend sang.
John Katy Perry sang, John Legend sang. There were considerable fireworks. That's probably the biggest firework display I've ever seen.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a pretty nice firework display.
like I when I was watching it, like I was like, okay, this is very
Wasn't
pomp and
it, like,
circumstance.
nice to see them, like, in the White House, like, actually in the White House,
Oh
like,
yeah.
putting them
Oh
in the White
gosh.
House?
It
Like,
was.
it was like, "Oh, that's" it's like, "No more scummy in the White House." It's like, "Look at the little 2 people in the White House, and they're in the White House now."
People respecting it are in it, like that was like, and being able to see them look out and enjoy the proceedings and so on and so forth, that was really, really nice.
It's like
Um,
2 little Democrats in the White House now.
so do you want to talk a little bit about the different executive orders that he signed on day
Oh my
one?
god, he signed 17 executive orders. He signed so many executive orders. So many. So many. He was just like, "Sign, sign, 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 sign." So many executive orders. So, I I work for a gay blog. It's great.
You do? I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah, I work for a gay blog. And
I must have missed that memo.
I was gonna write an article about how Trump was taking protections away, but actually I wrote an article about how Biden just gave protections back to the LGBTQ plus community and expanded upon them in an executive order.
Which was
Uh,
monumental.
it was the most expansive because of, and they're talking about uh, passing a law in Congress uh, to enact, because it's Bostock versus this county in Georgia uh, that gave equality rights in the workplace for because it was the transgender uh, equality rights in the workplace.
Mhm.
Um, so they want to make that a law called the Equality Act.
Mhm.
So they're expected to make that law to kind of like solidify all of the stuff that happened with the Bostock versus this county in Georgia. So Biden in his first 100 days wants to make that a law in his first 100 days of office.
Which that like he has so many goals for the first 100 days too, I know. And I know we'll get
Um,
to those in just a few minutes too. I don't wanna
yeah,
jump ahead, sorry. I'm just so
but that
excited.
but part of it is he uh, expanded on Title IX and Title VII, and Title IX is Title VII is protections for health and human services, protections, and Title IX is education.
Mhm.
So being able to use the bathroom that you want at school, and sexual discrimination.
Yeah, Title
Uh,
IX covers a lot of ground.
yeah, sex discrimination in school. And it's for transgender rights based in schools and stuff like that. So, but
So it was expanded to include those.
it's covering those. It's basically like they want to include all of those things. That's basically what Bostock is
Yeah.
covering, is including transgender rights.
Which is I mean, obviously that's significant, and that's the difficulty with a lot of laws. Like if you look at a lot of state laws, especially, it's all in the language. Like a lot of states did not have protections for the LGBTQ plus community in it, or they may have had protections for certain segments of the community, but
But
not.
Trump tried to take it away,
Mhm.
and Biden just gave it back.
Yeah, he just completely reversed that
Right.
and expanded.
He revoked the permit for the Keystone Pipeline permit, which amazing because
A
the
huge win
Keystone,
for the environment.
yes, because the Keystone Pipeline basically, it wasn't a matter of if it would break, it was when it would break and cause an oil leak.
And they
Uh,
were speculating that it would be an even more disastrous oil spill than the BP oil spill in the Gulf.
mhm.
Hmm. So I know, like I know the one setback with it is that it really upset Canada because Canada was really wanting the Keystone Pipeline, or at least that's what I read about. They were really advocating for it. So I'm curious to see as to where things go with that.
Yeah. He uh is doing a huge pandemic response. He named Fauci as his uh, person of who's the leader of the or his doctor who's the person in response, and he just did a bunch of stuff as far as the pandemic
Hmm.
response. um he did, like, I don't even know how many. It was like 6 different things with the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
So a large number of pandemic responses. I don't know all of the details, but, like, it was like mask. He made a federal mandate with the masks, and he did something with
It was like wearing
naming
masks at federal
people,
buildings.
and he wants to do like 100-day mask something to try
Like
to
a
get
mask
people to
challenge. I think that's
a
how he
mask
worded.
challenge. Yeah.
Leo says, isn't one of his appointed members transgender? Yes. His Secretary of Health, I believe, in Human Services is transgender. I believe so. Let me see. Secretary of Health and Human Services. It's so nice having technology in front of you to research this. Yes, Dr. Rachel Levine.
Hmm.
Again, monumental. Um, he has a lot of solid LGBTQ plus representation. Um, uh, uh, Former mayor and presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. He is Secretary of Transportation, and like I had a moment yesterday. I was watching his confirmation in the Senate, um, and like he like spent like 5 minutes talking about and thanking his husband and introducing his husband, and I had this moment where I was just like, 10 years ago, we would have never seen this happen.
No.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Just to see someone have that much pride in his spouse on like it was a very poignant moment.
It's true. So good.
So wholesome. But yeah, like he also upheld the Dreamers program of immigration. He ended the Muslim ban. He halted construction on the border wall. He rejoined the Paris like the Paris Accord, something very significant.
Mhm.
Um,
He entered the 1776 Commission, which distorted history, including the role of slavery. among other things. He reinstated diversity and inclusivity training among the federal level. He extended a moratorium on evictions and asked HUD to commit to a moratorium on foreclosures. He paused federal loans until September, and he's talking about canceling student loan debt up to $50,000. Um, and finally, he is requiring his appointees to sign an ethics pledge as a way to restore and maintain trust in government.
All significant. It's pretty sad, though, that it's at the point where one has to have people sign an ethics pledge. But I think the events of the past 4 years have been very telling that ethics can be very much warped and distorted.
I think that we need it right now, though. I
For
think we
sure.
need to have our leaders sign something that says, I mean, he did a very poignant speech where he was like, "If you don't respect people, I'm gonna just fire you offhand. I'm not even gonna just like deal with this. I'm just gonna fire you."
Right. Yep.
And I was just like, yes, this is what we need. We need somebody who is not gonna put up with this shit.
Yeah. So, like, I know we've touched on a couple of aspects of his 100-day plan because I'm realizing we have like only a few minutes left. We could have easily divided this episode up into a couple of episodes because we wanted to make sure that we were expansive for this. But in his very expansive 100-day plan, he obviously is planning on continuing his efforts. Like the administration is planning on continuing their effort in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, including vaccine distribution. Um, he's planning on the economic front reversing Trump's corporate tax cut, environmentally, obviously reestablishing our country as being a leading voice when it comes to climate change, like we used to be, extending the Voting Rights Act, focusing on racial equity much more, you know, significantly than before, comprehensive immigration changes, stopping the family separation taking place at the border, ending Trump's executive order that banned travelers from Muslim majority countries. So as you can see, like a lot of these really focus on a lot of the
Muslim ban, yeah.
racism and the stigmatizing that was perpetuated the past 4 years. Police reform, enacting comprehensive criminal justice reform, obviously repairing a lot of our alliances internationally because those have been warped a little bit. Leo asks, why not make this episode longer? I mean, we can go a little bit longer if you want.
Yeah, we can go longer.
So, like, where was I?
Applying, repairing alliances, making major investments in the U.S. economy to boost domestic growth, starting on a $2 trillion climate plan. We definitely need to work on our climate plan because we need to work on climate change. If we don't work on it, I mean, we're one of the biggest gas guzzlers on people who make negative changes to the environment. So we need to work on our effects to the environment. So we need to kind of lead the charge. And
Well, we used to like the thing is we used to be a very significant shining example when we were a leading voice, and the fact that there's been so much withdrawal from those very crucial institutions we used to be a part of, like that was very compromising because we
and scientists have made
yeah.
it so that like we have the technology available to us to like make it so that we could do the things necessary to stop global warming. It's just like we just have to implement the technology, and like it's just implementing it. So we just have to
Mhm.
implement the technology. And so
And reestablishing people's belief in it. Like that's been the most insidious damage caused over the past 4
and they
years.
think it's gonna affect jobs and like work, like they think it's gonna affect like the economy, and like we just have to like assure people it's not gonna affect the economy too bad.
If anything, it may stimulate the economy considering it might provide jobs. In fact, it will provide jobs, especially if there is a focus placed on wind and solar energies. So, like, I really think that there is a pretty significant benefit to that. And keep in mind, it's not saying that fossil fuels are going to just be deleted or the need for like it. They're still going to be needed. They're still going to be present. Like, obviously, our country still depends on them. But we're talking about a gradual supplementation of alternative energies,
Mhm.
you know?
It's just gonna be different.
Mhm. It's gonna be such a gradual process, I think that we'll just grow accustomed to it with over time, you know? This is like 20, 30 years, that it is gonna take to get to that point. But the thing is, we need to be on that road to getting to that point, and we were kind of derailed there for a while. So
Yeah.
that's like we're gonna have to regain our footing. Um, let's see. So
Building
like
on the Affordable Care Act if it's
yep,
not too late.
yep, building on the Affordable Care Act. I know one aspect of it was establishing more competition for private insurance companies to keep those costs low, because that was the biggest criticism of Obamacare was that because of the problems with private healthcare insurance, like that's what caused a lot of prices to skyrocket for people. So like he wants to for sure fix that. Um, in education, uh, he wants to make some very large advances in education, especially.
Especially because of who his wife is and who the people he's appointed. Um he definitely has some ideas about education and what he wants to do with education. He has people talking in his ear about, hey, we need to do stuff with education because the people who came before, we had Betsy DeVos, who did a bunch of damage to education and
Oh,
basically
yeah.
did have some negative effects on education. So we have Dr. Jill Biden going, hey, we need to do something about education.
A community college English professor who is still going to teach while she's vice president, while she's the first lady, like
Yeah,
nerding out. I am nerding out over that. Um, but like I really think that there is plenty of opportunity for optimism,
I think it's great that she's still going to teach while she's in the White House.
right? And I love that she is not afraid to use her title, even though there have been people shaming her for it.
She earned her doctorate. Like, I don't understand why people are like, you're not a real doctor. And it's like, she's a doctor. She earned her doctorate.
Well, it's because a lot of people think that the actual word doctor should be reserved for medical doctors, and it's like, uh, uh did you miss the memo that doctor represents multiple different things? And if you look up the original meaning of doctor, it actually references one who teaches. It means one who teaches.
Right.
Don't even like that one. What was that? Was that who posted that article? Was it a Wall Street Journal article or something like that? I don't know, but it was an article that was like super misogynistic and scathing toward Dr. Biden referencing her title, which obviously it got a lot of really negative feedback, and which understandably so, though. But I really think that, like, there's at least plans in place. They are actively making momentum, or creating momentum, which is, I think, far more than what we could say for the prior administration, who really didn't accomplish that much. RP says, imagine being a college professor or being president while still teaching. I would probably start foaming at the mouth because it would be too busy.
It's too busy, too much work.
I'd be like, no. So we have our final discussion questions, which we always love our discussion questions, right? So what was your favorite part of the day and why?
I think I know yours.
Really? I can't imagine what that would be. Obviously, it was Gaga performing the national anthem, because my bleeding heart liberal soul just gleamed at that moment. Excuse me, gay bleeding heart liberal soul gleamed at that moment.
Mine was Amanda Gorman.
Like, yeah, like, to me, it's a tie, because the significance of her performing that poem, the strong presence of poetry in conjunction with everything else, that was very important for me too. So it's a toss-up for me. Both of those are significant.
Yeah. I think we can skip the second discussion question because I think that we talked about the poem "The Hill We Climb" in quite
Yeah.
detail.
Taking the oath. So why do we mark such an event with pomp and circumstance like the inauguration? Well, first of all, that's a phenomenal question, Ari. Ari wrote these discussion questions. So I really think that the pomp and circumstance is important because it served as a symbol of unity, which is something that our country really needs to see right now, especially with all the divisiveness that's been happening over the past year, especially. So to me, it wasn't just like this display of, political elitism. Like, I really felt that it was very genuine and trying to establish some semblance of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, David. It's good to see you.
Hi,
How about how,
David.
how about you, Ari? Like, what do you think about that?
I think that we need this political pageantry like every 4 years because it reminds us that to have hope in our democracy, to have a sense of we do this as a way of ending, I don't know, the battle that is the election, and to come together and say, this is the end of the election. We're coming together now. We're saying that this is the end of the election. We're moving on. We're moving forward. We're starting a new beginning, and we're marking a special occasion and doing something fresh now.
Agreed. And I really think that Gorman's poem really establishes that too. Like, to me, the entire message of the inauguration centered in that poem, in the sense that, like, we need to not get so caught up in the patriotism at our expense and forget what we're really about. And we are really about our diversity and our willingness to continue and maintain this democracy that's beneficial to all. Because to me, it seems like it's that thirst for acknowledging patriotism sometimes that seems to, like, people lose track and lose touch of what patriotism seems to be. You know, like, patriotism is more than just national pride. You know, it's more of the desire to preserve that, to maintain equality, to remind people that our country is centered on liberty, but it takes work to maintain it. It's not something that just happens. So let's see here. The next one is, why does it show such disdain to the political system that Trump left early and in the fashion that he did? I think that, like, I really think that things ended the way they did because I really think it had a lot to do with shame, embarrassment. I think that's why he didn't involve himself, and broke a lot of those traditions, unfortunately. I'm glad that former Vice President Pence was there. That I mean, I will say that I think that was a significant moment.
I feel like we needed to have somebody there, and I
Yeah.
feel like but to have him leave on Air Force One while he was still president, the whole time while he was president, it just showed, like, kind of like a thumbing to the system. Just
Hmm.
like, "I'm gonna be president the whole time while I'm on Air Force One," and just be like it just showed, like just like a thumbing to the system, like, this isn't just like a special mission, this is like, I'm president the whole time while I'm on Air Force One.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just really have to, like, right at the end, like, just thumb your nose at the system.
Yeah.
Like,
It's sad.
you couldn't go to the inauguration and just, like, eat crow and just, like, "Good job, buddy, you won," like
Show a sign of solidarity with, like, in support of democracy, like, of the processes that define us, you know. Jalera's here saying patriotism needs to be earned, which I think is extremely important.
I just I really think that, like I don't know, maybe it's just because he's a sore loser that he just couldn't bring himself to, like, do it, but, like
Well, it proves that to him, wounded pride and protecting that and coddling that is more important than ensuring the well-being of everyone and our democracy.
I just really
Yeah.
think that, like, he could have brought himself to, like, going at least
Yeah.
for a little while and just on it.
Like, I know that President Biden said that there was one tradition that former President Trump that did do, and he did leave he quoted generous letter in the White House desk for him, because that's a presidential tradition. So he hasn't revealed what it said yet, as far as I'm aware, but
It's because he hasn't talked to Trump yet, and when
mhm.
he talks to Trump
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how likely this is, but I do hope that in that conversation they do have, that maybe there is some mending in some way. I don't know what form that would take. I don't know how much of it would be needed, but I hope that it starts because it needs to, you know. So,
Mhm.
our last discussion question tonight is, what will you remember most about the last 4 years past now that it's prior 4 years that it's now over? What are you most thinking about our future? Um, for me, what I'll remember the most is just the deep well of uncertainty. The uncertainty of, will my right as an LGBTQ plus person, will our right as LGBTQ plus people be revoked in any way, be threatened in any way? And they were threatened multiple times. And of course, a lot of the racial discrimination that was taking place, the misogyny taking place, like, I'm going to remember those things.
The white supremacy. I'll
The
remember the
white
white
supremacy.
supremacy.
Yeah.
The violence. I remember the violence a lot.
I really think that looking toward the future, what I'm most thinking about is the fact that everything will get better, but it's going to take time to get better. It's going to
And,
take
like,
work.
that's something, like, I'll remember now is, like, even though Donald Trump isn't president, like, those people haven't gone away. They still believe what they believe, even though Donald Trump isn't president. And, like, that's something we have to remember, like, those people still believe what they do, even though he's not president.
Yeah.
Like, it's just he's not president anymore. They've gone underground, and, like, we just don't have him putting hate out loud anymore.
Right.
We don't have anyone to, like we don't have anyone to, like, put a face like, we don't have anyone saying, "I believe in Donald Trump," and so you can't say, like, "Oh, that person believes in Trump," so then you can question, like, their belief system. So, like, now you don't have, like, a way to gauge, like, who they are as a person anymore.
Right. That is a good point. David says, I'll remember it as the time in my life that as a gay Jew, I ever thought of leaving the country. Seriously. And that's understandable. Like, a lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ plus community, were worried about safety and our well-being. I really do feel good about what's to come. I do, like we were talking about at the beginning, I do feel that there has been some sort of weight lifted. And I think it's very much possible for us to get back on track. And we're already working toward that, in my opinion. So, well, Ari, do you have any parting words for everyone?
Um, I
Not to
think
put
it
you on the
can
spot.
I think it can get better, but, it's gonna be a long road.
It'll be a long road, yes. And we're all in it together, too.
We're in
Always
it
remember
together.
that.
Yeah.
Well, dear friends, we really appreciate you tuning in for our reflection on the inauguration. Tune in again next Friday because we will be doing our next episode at 8:30. I can't remember what the topic is that particular day. I
I
believe
think we're doing ambiverts.
being ambivert. So we're going to have conversation about what it means to be an ambivert versus an extrovert, introvert, so on and so forth. So, and there might be some poetry involved. So if you enjoy that, tune in for that. All right, we love you all. Subscribe to our channels. Obviously, mine is here. Go subscribe to Ari's channel, Strange Nothings. Go buy books. Ari's book, Full of Now. My book, Carbon Footprint. How many plugs can I get in 20 seconds? Anyway, we love you. You have a good night and have a delightful weekend. Bye.